Good afternoon. I'm Steve Bassnett, and along with Aaron Marsden, I would like to welcome everyone on behalf of CANASA and Security Canada to our weekly online webinar. I would like to say a special thank you to Speco Technologies for their support in sponsoring today's session. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Timothy TJ Dixon of Speco Technologies. TJ has been with Speco Technologies for 16 years and is an industry veteran, having handled the access control products at the distribution level prior to joining Speco. Feel free to type any questions you may have during the session into the Q&A window at the bottom of your screen, and TJ will respond during the Q&A portion roughly 20 minutes from now. I'll now turn the session over to TJ. Welcome, TJ. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having us. I appreciate it. I hope everybody appreciates my background. We're getting to the spooky time of the year, and showing some analytics here of some human and vehicle detection. We could talk about that a little bit later. But thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate the support, and are excited today to jump in. We'll dive in and talk about some of our access control and temperature solutions. So, without further ado, I'm going to share my screen here. Screen share. And hopefully everybody can see that, and I'll jump right in. So thank you all again so much for taking the time to go through this with us. We have some pretty exciting things that we want to share with you today. We're going to be talking about our browser managed access control with video integration, and we're also going to do a brief introduction of our O2 TML temperature, mask, and facial recognition panel. So a little bit about access control and where some opportunity lies for everybody. When we look at the access control market, looking at a couple of studies that were done in the industry, access control represents a nice area for a higher gross profit margin. As we know, with video can be challenging. It's a bit of a commoditized item, of course. A lot of cameras out there, a lot of competition from so many different directions, and even from the consumer side. And we have to kind of jump through hoops here. But a good way to add on to some of those types of technologies is to have the access control tied in. So with Speco, in looking at some of these numbers here and how we can kind of complement this, we have our video surveillance products, which you may be familiar with. I'm going to review a few of those today. But when we look at the access control opportunities, we found that there's about 7.7 doors on average are installed per job. This range from the smaller commercial up to larger projects. So it's about 7.7. And per door is about $1,559 per door on average. So if we do that math, we're at about an additional $12,000 on average per job when adding access control to a surveillance system, Berg system, whatever it might be. So access control happens to be the #1 requested integrated technology with those base technologies like Berg and video. So great opportunities are here for us when it comes to access control. So let's talk about Speco specifically. So what we have is a browser managed access control system. So what does that mean? So just simply put, we can simply log into a network. There is absolutely no software to be installed on any machine. So traditionally, some of our competitors out there would have a software-based or PC-based type of application where you'd have to take, you'd buy the base controller, maybe a couple of extra doors to expand, and then you'd need software to run that. And then that software then needs to be loaded onto a PC or a Mac or whatever it might be. So there's an increase of installation time when having to do that. Of course, you have to deal with those challenges. Is it Windows 7? Is it Windows 10? Is it compatible? Is it a Mac? Do I have the right software for Mac? So there's a lot of challenges there. With Speco, you eliminate those headaches, and we can jump right in, put it onto the network, and off we go. So very simple. It also lowers the total cost of ownership over the life of the system. So if you have if you're familiar with access control at all, sometimes there's updates, and with any technology, there's going to be an update. So what happens is if there is an update, you have to go to each machine on a PC-based system, and you have to maybe use a thumb drive and do those updates to the machine. With Speco, everything's done behind the scenes. It's all done on demand through the network, and all those updates are done. So over the life of the system, your total cost of ownership goes way down. So really user-friendly applications here. So as we get into the hardware, I'm going to talk about, we have 3 different versions of hardware. So I have a single door controller, which is this one right here, this black box. For every door, it's a read in and out. I have a 2-door controller here and this nice heavy gauge panel here, heavy steel panel. One with basic power. I have one with built-in power, which I'll show you on the next slide, which is a great advantage. And then this is the 2-door expansion module, so I can go up to 4 doors in one panel. So the integrated power, so let's talk about that one for a second. So what we can do here, we have a lot more flexibility when it comes to our installation. So if I am taking over a system, let's say, and I have a maybe a 12-volt lock or strike on a front door, but maybe you have a few locks and strikes that are 24 volts that you'd like to utilize. This is a jumper selectable power supply that's built into the panel. So basically what you're seeing here in this highlighted area is 24 volts or 12 volts. So it's, you just put your jumpers in here. I say I want 24 volts, and I can mix and match by door up to 4 doors per panel. This has a step-up regulator. So the step-up regulator allows for 1 voltage to come out and go to the backup battery. So I only need 1 battery on board. I don't need a separate battery for the 12 and the 24 volts. So it's very simple. It's a 5-foot IEC cord that just plugs right into a wall outlet, and I'm up and running. So I can do all my power of the locks and readers right from one can, and I don't have to have the labor involved in putting a separate power supply in. Hardware. So when we look at the hardware, we say, okay, how do we designate these? Again, with some of our competitors, you have to designate whether you want to buy it as a server or a client, and there's really no flexibility after that. So with Speco, though, because it's browser managed, I'm just using a key. So in the example of maybe a multiple building application where I have 3 buildings, in the first building, I could designate that first panel as a server, the other 2 as clients. So when I do that, I'm just going to have a key. I set up my server. I have 2 client keys. I put those in, and now I'm very flexible. But if I decide at some point I'm going to sell one of the buildings, I can then take that client, change it back to a server, and now that particular building can operate independently. So this lowers your inventory costs for the hardware. It's all the same, and all virtual keys are applied again on demand. So very, very simple process. We have a remote management connection. So if you want to connect from the outside, it's simply just a cloud interface that's going to allow the dealer or an end user to securely access the system remotely. So I can go from anywhere, come in, I can view one or all the systems with login and user roles. It's an encrypted connection, of course. We want this to be highly encrypted, and it's going to ensure that data transfer is taking place in a secure environment. So you do have the best of both worlds. When it comes to setup, and some access control systems can be a little bit complex, but with Speco, we try to keep it easy. So what we want to do is what we provided is a wizard. So at the bottom here, you can see this little wand. The user would just click on that wand and then go through a step-by-step process of what language you want to set up, licensing, card formats. You can do multiple card formats, holiday groups, schedules. As I walk through these, very simple process for setup. If the setup is a bit more extensive and you just want a technician to go out, install the hardware, get it set up on the network, when you do your RMC, you have the ability then to tap into that unit from the outside. And if there's pretty extensive things that need to happen, like hundreds of users have to be uploaded via an Excel spreadsheet or whatever it might be, that can all be done from the outside and very simple on that side. So, so we try to make it as simple as possible, but of course it has a lot of robust features that can be certainly very advanced. So one of the key things that we get asked all the time is, we're Speco Technologies, we're a video surveillance company, and how do you integrate with access control? And in many cases, if there are a lot of good access control companies out there, manufacturers that are out there, but in order for them to integrate with video, they don't make video, so they have to integrate with another license or another piece of software that they have to put in between, and then that has to operate with another manufacturer's brand of video. So they have to kind of shoehorn these together, and sometimes that can be a little bit of a stumbling block when putting video and access together. So with us, because our video and access all work together, we're integrated out of the box with our NR series recorders. I'm going to show you how easy it is to do. So our main dashboard here, you're going to simply click on NVR setting. You're going to add a new NVR, so I'm just going to simply click new. I'm going to input my step-by-step connection information for the NVR that I have networked, and then click add. Once I do that, my NVR is set up with my access control. I'm in my access control browser, and now I can view video. So I'm just simply going to click on my unit that I'd like. So my HRL, I'm going to click on play. And now I can get a 4, 8, or 16 camera matrix view in my access control browser. So this is just a live view that I can go into, but there are other options. So really good options too. So I have my auto live camera pop-up, and these are things you'd expect from a higher end access control system. So when somebody presents a credential, I'm going to have my video tag auto pop up. So basically what's going to happen is I present the credential, this thumbnail will pop up, and if I'm the security guard, I can say, okay, TJ's walking through the door and I see him coming in now. I can just view a camera. So somebody calls me and says, hey, TJ, I think the UPS guy might be at the back door. I can go to my backdoor camera, click on my icon here and get my live video. And I say, okay, that's the UPS guy, that's Bob. I'm going to let him in. I do my momentary unlock. I let him in, he comes in, and he'll exit, and then the door will lock behind him. And then finally, we have event tag. So when I'm connecting this with maybe a burglar alarm panel or something, or I want to put an alarm input or output, somebody kicks in a door, whatever the event is, I can then trigger it to record and then go back and play back that event. Licensing is very simple with Speco. So what we do is licensing on demand. So everything's done via email. So we have 3 different packages of access control. So out of the box, you have an advantage level, and then you have a pro, and then you have a pro plus. And some of those features, as you go up the chain, is obviously more users, elevator control, things like that. So, but if you add a system, your advantage, and say, you know what, I really need some elevator control, or I need to add some users or more doors, I'm expanding my system, and you go to pro, you're just going to get via email, you'll be sent via email a license key. You'll go in, you'll add that license key, and all those items that were grayed out in Advantage will go live, and then you'll be able to use those right away and be able to launch those features for your customers. There's no cloud or recurring fees either, so all licensing from Speco is a one-time fee per site, and this goes even for our NVR. So if you wanted to put up to, for our Advantage level, you can put 2 NVRs on a system for 1 license fee. And then for our Pro and Pro Plus, you can put up to 60 NVRs on 1 system. So very, very robust system when it comes to video surveillance. So we want to get mobile, right? So we want to be able to use this phone that we have in our hand that has so much power, and we want to be able to manage systems. So if I'm an administrator, we have what's called a Speco Access app, and the Speco Access app will give you a lot of things that you're doing right at the network. So if you were at the machine and you were on your network and you were going in, the mobile app does a lot of the same things. So I can view my event logs, I can do live events, video tags, I can do my door status, I can lock and unlock doors, I can view a live view of the camera. Again, that UPS scenario, I can see that guy coming to the back door. Card holders, somebody's disgruntled, and we say, hey, this guy put a threat against the building, want to get him out of the system. We can take them right out of the system. We can add, edit, and delete, and then we could add photos. And then, of course, threat levels, we can view and change the status. I want to get into the readers for a second, because in this day and age of COVID and everybody wanting to go touchless, we have several touchless options available. So there's a few here. So we do have ones with a keypad. Of course, you can touch these. These also have proximity built in, so these can be touchless, but I'm going to focus on these just for a second. So these are our prox readers. So we have a couple here. We have a mullion mounts and standard wall mount readers that have a read range. So if I have my key fob or my card or whatever it might be, I can be 1 inch away, 3 inches away, 5 inches away, and then in some cases with long range, several feet away, where I can just use my prox and I'm completely touchless. We do have one in the line, and now with everybody with cell phones or whatever, all these mobile devices and crazy stuff, Bluetooth is a great option for being able to provide people with credentials that are mobile, that they always have. They don't forget them at home, because typically nobody ever forgets their phone. They always have it on their person. So what we have is, in combination, this Bluetooth reader here, and then a mobile app, and this mobile app, this Speco Connect here. Basically what this is you're just going to download, you're going to scan a QR code from a mobile credential, comes via PDF. Once that's loaded and the user set up in the system, they'll be active. They can walk up to the reader, they get kind of close to it, and they can now utilize the Bluetooth technology in this reader to allow them in the building. So this can be used with a prox card as well. There's a different set of prox cards that have to go with this one. This is a Bluetooth enabled. So when we talk about COVID, when we talk about touchless systems, when we're talking about access control, and people putting in auto door openers and all those things, so we can really go truly 100% touchless when somebody walks through a building, this is a great option and very cost effective. The other thing is two-factor authentication. So as we get more and more advanced, as we get to, with pricing coming down and things like that too, and we want more advanced features, facial recognition and two-factor authentication is critical. So what we have in some organizations, and we have this here at Speco, when we come in the morning, we have to scan our credential, then our face is recognized by the facial recognition camera, and then it will release the door and have the door open. Now this is Kristen here. If Kristen walked out maybe last night and dropped her card in the parking lot, nobody can come back in, obviously. So they pick up their card and they try it, because she's not there, that door remains locked and everybody stays safe. So this is a great way to do this. Again, we have several NVR'S in the line now with facial recognition that will interact with our Speco access system. Couple of NVR'S I just wanted to show you very quickly. We have our NRL series of NVR'S. So if you're looking for a cost-effective way to get Speco and Access tied together, Speco Video and Access tied together, NRL is fantastic. So it goes up to 4K, up to 14 terabytes of storage. And something very important that I want to note here is that Speco Technologies has free US-based DDNS and P2P services. So these are P2P based, so I could do P2P QR code networking, where it's very simple to set up. So I just simply scan a QR code, I get it on the network, and it's very simple to use just out of the box, even if I were to use this independently. And then I can tie it in with that one license fee to my access control. But because it's US based, we do not phone home to any other country. It does not phone home to China, anywhere else. All of our servers are based here in the US, in New York, and we have complete control over those servers here. So we know what's happening with that data, and your customers can feel comfortable with that as well. All of our NVR'S have a 5-year limited warranty, with the exception of the hard drives. They are 3 years, but these are very feature-rich NVR'S at a very good price. Our NR series is one step up. So we look at our NRE, they happen to be showing a 32 channel, but we have 8 and 16 as well with built-in PoE. The 32 channel requires an external PoE switch. However, I can go up to 112 terabytes worth of storage in this 32 channel. 4K again at 30 frames per second, H.265 compression. That's still that same US-based P2P and DDNS, 5-year warranty. So really, really a great unit. And this NRE, the big difference with this one is that I have facial recognition and higher end analytics for these. So we want to do human and vehicle detection and LPR, those types of things. Our NRE series is the perfect one if you have that solution currently or trying to spec out that solution. Take a look at Speco, and I think that you'll find that we have what you probably need. The next thing I wanted to talk about is our O2 TML. This is our temperature, face, and mass detecting panel. I'm assuming some of you on here are probably on here for this. Specifically, this is a very, very hot item, and it's doing phenomenally for us. And we wanted to make sure that everybody here knew about this and what some of the great features are of this. So this is a 100% contactless solution. So when we look at this, you can take a look and see that immediately this looks like an iPad or some type of a tablet. So it's about 5.5 inches wide by about 12 inches tall, has an infrared sensor, white LED, dual lens camera, 8-inch LCD. So really, really a nice unit here. Comes with a wall mount, has a variety of different features as we go through. I'm going to show you what the capabilities of this unit are. So this is going to give you multi-factor authentication access control. So basically what this is, it can do a mask, or sorry, this is temperature here, mask or face match. So I can do facial recognition. I'm going to show you how these are done. So for temperature, we have a accuracy within about 0.5 degree Fahrenheit. We have a quick reading time of about 2 seconds. That's with all parameters checked. It is I can alert people. I'm going to show you some alerts and how those are, what they look like as far as emails and text messages in a couple of slides here. Important to note, this is not an FDA approved device. All right, so there would be some secondary screening that would need to take place if somebody had a temperature anomaly. I'll talk about that too. What's really nice is that if somebody does have an abnormal temperature, it's going to tell them right on the screen, okay, here's your abnormal temperature. It can call out to the person with a message that will alert them to that, or you can turn that off for privacy's sake. And then it'll alert somebody, and then they can take action from there. What's nice, it's very low maintenance. So it comes with an IR thermopile sensor from a company called Melexis. It's factory calibrated and no calibration box is needed. So this unit is designed to be used indoors in some type of a lobby or something like that, hallway, which we use here. As long as it's in an ambient temperature, no issues with having to calibrate the unit. Mask detection. Of course, retail environments, restaurants, masks are required. We're here in New York here. We're at about 25% capacity. Everybody has to wear a mask when you walk in. When you sit down, it's a different story. You sit down to eat, you can take your mask off, but you have to walk through the door with this mask on. So this will detect everybody who comes through with a mask, tells you yes or no. If not, it'll reject and then notify. Facial recognition. So we can use this panel for facial recognition. So hopefully, we all hope that this whole COVID thing goes away and we can get back to normal. So despite it having that face, the mask and the temperature, if that goes away, we can still use this as a facial recognition camera. So this is Justin here trying to get in, and it's going to recognize within 99.7% accuracy and can detect faces with the mask on. We have a face capacity of 20,000 faces that can go into each unit with a built-in, it's an optional micro SD card at 128 gigabytes. So great face detection, easy enrollment. I have face capture registration. This is Tin Eng here. Tin is one of our product managers here, but we've enrolled him with, here's his face with a mask. We've enrolled him. And every time he walks up, it's going to say, okay, is this him? And it's going to release the door provided all those parameters are checked. And then when it comes to trigger alerts, right? We want to know what's happening, right? So when somebody comes to that, it's critical, especially on the temperature side, right? So we can do this a few different ways. I have via email. So when I have an email come through, this person tried to get through with no mask. So this sends an embedded JPEG in that email to whomever's designated. I can do it via text message. So this is me trying to walk through. I had an elevated temperature. It sent a text message to an administrator, and that administrator can take action right away. And then finally, we can do it via FTP. So if somebody just wants to send events to an FTP so they're all logged in somewhere, they can do that too. So a lot of ways to do this. We have access control settings. So I can use this as an actual, a reader or a credential. So if somebody comes in, I just show my face, all those things check off. It's gonna, through the controller, release the door, or I can use it as an input. And I can say, okay, well, I want my person, the person to present their card first so I can see who they are. And then I can have the O2TML provide a secondary piece of information, and then of course, trigger the door to open. So this is just a picture of the back of the unit. We will follow up with a copy of this presentation for everybody so you can see it firsthand. And of course, always welcome any questions, but this is a nice picture of the back of the unit so you can see what the inputs and outputs are, what kind of variety of features you can add to this particular machine. So some of those common applications: healthcare and hospitals, retail and grocery, education, corporate. You've probably been in all of them. You probably know. I've been asked by several people, hey, do you have this, and how can we get this? So it is available today. We have these readily available today. They're priced right. We have a lot of features. We have some optional mounts. So we have a wall mount, which comes with it, but we do have a floor mount, a pole mount, and a desktop mount as well. And just to recap a little bit on the access control. Operationally superior, so we look at it's out of the box ready. You learn one, you learn them all. So if you know a single door, you can do up to 128 doors. Service platform and parts, everything is very simple. You'll see all this in the any events that come up. It's fully scalable. It's HTML5. It's very fast to set up. Much higher profits. So when you're comparing it with a PC-based system, and without all that labor and the extra software that has to be purchased, you take all those profits, you just fold them up and put them in your pocket. And then we can sell more systems at a higher price. So we can fit more installations. We're fully scalable. So if you want to go into as a takeover, or if you want to expand it, easily expandable. And then it's who owns your data. There's some cloud-based access control out there right now, but it's a monthly fee, right? But who owns that data? If you decide, okay, I'm going to cut off my, my access control, I don't want to pay these fees anymore. Who keeps that data? Is it the access control company, the manufacturer, or does it go back to the end user? So reporting, we can slice and dice in 100 different ways. So who's coming in, when, and where, and we look at just events that have video clips or not. So very, very simple setup and a lot of information. So that's my overall here. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll turn it back over to Steve.
Thank you, TJ. That was great. If anyone has any questions for TJ, please type them into the Q&A window at the bottom center of your screen now. And we'll jump to our first question. Does the customer's data and software reside at the controller level or on the cloud servers hosted by Speco?
It's not on the cloud, it's on the network. So you're just connecting to a network. It's in from the controller. It doesn't go out to the cloud. The only cloud connection is if you're going to use RMC, if you're going to connect to it from the outside, you would need that RMC license. But everything else is on the network. All updates can be done through the network.
Great. What is the maximum number of doors we can have in a single installation?
The maximum number of doors on our Pro or Pro Plus is 128 doors. If you need to go a little bit higher than that, we do have a corporate license, and then we have to just talk about that separately, how that gets implemented. But standard for us is 100 to 128 doors. Not 1 to 128 doors.
Okay, thanks. Next question, can the system use other card formats in the case of taking over from a legacy system?
Yeah, excellent question. Yes, it absolutely can. So it doesn't matter if you're taking over a system and it's a different manufacturer, we can read those cards and we can pull them into our system.
Okay. Do you have a telephone entry system?
Unfortunately, we don't have a telephone entry system today.
Okay, we got time for one more question. Does the O2 TML have a French option for the voice?
It absolutely does. It does. It has not only a French option, but it has 22 other languages on top of that that we can that you could use.
Great. Thank you, TJ.
My pleasure.
That brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you for joining us. And once again, thank you to TJ and Speco Technologies for their support. At the close of this session, a link to register for next week's session will pop up. Please be sure to register. We look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, be well.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.